Alright. So, my world, it used to be in a box. I was in there. Yeah. My box is really dark, and I could only see the basic outline of things. So, like, I couldn't really tell what was going on. And inside my box was pretty much everything I've ever worked for my whole life. So, like, my friends, my family, like, all my pursuits, all my passions. The whole world was in my box, but from a different perspective. I was so used to the darkness inside my world that, like, every time a little bit of light shined in through the cracks on top, I looked away. It shocked me. I didn't like the light. Like, every time anyone shined, like, Jesus in me, I was like, and, like, I didn't like it at all, because I was so used to the darkness. Like, I was fine with just being in a dark world. But see, I wasn't really getting anywhere, because I was sitting in a boring, dark place, and, sorry, I lost my spot. Oh, and, like, I just tried to fill myself up with all the little things inside my box. So, like, my heart was empty, and it was broken. And I tried to look to guys to fill myself up, or to my family, or to my friends, and it always left me with nothing. Nothing lasted. And, like, I went from one thing to the next, to one thing to the next, but nothing lasted, and it was horrible. So, because nothing lasted, I blamed it on myself, and I thought that I was not good enough. That because nothing stayed with me, or nothing, like, everything failed me, I thought it was because I just didn't do enough, or just because I wasn't good enough. And so I started losing my self-confidence. And you know how when you lose something, you want to replace it with something else? Like, if you lose your phone, you replace it with another phone. Or you lose a friend, and you replace that friend with another friend. Well, when I lost my self-confidence, I replaced it with gossiping. And that became an addiction for me, because the more and more I said about someone else that was bad, it made me feel better. Like, we don't just gossip for no reason. It's because we are not confident in ourselves, and we want to make ourselves feel better. And that's the only reason why we gossip. I mean, think about it. And I tried to fill my self-confidence with gossiping. And that was not working either, because if I was satisfied, I would have stopped. But I kept going and going and going. And blah, blah, blah. And then other addictions started forming in my box. And they were still dark, and they were just like other little dark things in my box, which means they did not satisfy me, and they left me with nothing. And one of these addictions was pornography. Yes, girls can have that too, because there's stuff on the internet for girls too. And that all started when I started watching, like, PG-13 movies that were chick flicks. And everyone's like, oh, well, I've seen those, and they're fine. But they're really not, because, like, the world has turned dark things into, like, things that we're all used to. But that started getting me addicted to pornography. And, like, if you give the devil an inch, he will take a mile. Amen. No matter what you do. And me starting to watch chick flick movies that are even, like, rated R, even PG-13, that was giving the devil an inch. And he took a mile with it, and I got addicted. And I kept thinking, well, everyone else, like, I know people, like, I used to know people that were addicted to pornography too, and I was like, oh, that's fine, you know, I'll be fine, because they are too. But I wasn't fine, and I soon learned that once you're addicted to something, it tortures you, and you can't get it out of your head, and, like, you can't get enough, and you start treating people differently because you're still not satisfied. And I tried to get out of this addiction. Like, I tried, and I tried, and I tried, and, like, it was really bad, and, like, I blamed it on myself, and the devil kept telling me, oh, you're not good enough, this is what you're going to have to live like, and you're going to deal with this your whole life, and there's no way out, and just keep running away from that light, because that'll only just scare you like everything else. And, like, life just went downhill, and it was my fault, but I blamed it on myself, as in, there's no hope. And I had suicidal thoughts, and I just wanted to be comforted. I just wanted someone to hold me and say that everything's going to be okay, but every time I wanted to tell someone about what was going on, I didn't want to tell anyone because I was ashamed of who I was. And I remember one night, it was a long time ago, I don't really remember exactly why I was so upset, but something happened that day, and everything just went downhill. And I was sitting in my room, and I started getting these thoughts about, like, this is it, you know? It's either you end your life now, or it's just going to get worse. And I'm kind of glad I didn't end my life. But I started feeling so much pain in my heart that it was so full of pain that I just wanted to, it felt like it was going to burst. So I let out the pain in my heart by physically causing pain to my body. And instead of cutting myself, I peeled skin off my fingers, off my thumbs, from here to here on my thumbs. And seeing my thumbs bloody and just like that, it was comforting to me. I don't really know why that was comforting, but it was. And that was comforting me. And another thing I did to comfort myself was I got a knife and I cut off little pieces of my hair. Like, it wasn't really that noticeable, but just like abusing my own body was something that satisfied me in a way. And I don't really know how that is, but that's how it was for me. And I started wearing really dark makeup. Like, sometimes in person, like in public around people, but I wore most of it when I was just sitting in my room because it got to the point when I just did not want to look at myself anymore. Like, I was so ashamed of who I was that I couldn't even look at myself. I was very disappointed in myself, and it was hopeless. And the devil kept telling me that no one was watching me when my heart broke, and that no one was watching me as hair, like pieces of hair fell to the floor, and no one was watching as I ripped skin off of my thumbs, and no one was watching when I was inside my dark box, just rotting there by myself. And I thought that my life was going all downhill because no one cared. And that's the first point. And it might not be as extreme, but if maybe you see yourself in a box, and maybe you feel like you can't really see things, like it's really dark, okay? And you might not realize you're in a box because it's dark. So if you can't really see that well, then how do you know you're in a box? I mean, you might kind of think about, like, well, I'm not in a box. I love life. Like, I'm not depressed. But, like I said, I tried to fix my heart, and I thought that the little things I did was satisfying me, but I couldn't even see it. And I knew that my heart was broken, but I didn't know how to fix it. And, you know, like, sometimes you don't even know how much pain is in your heart until it's not, like, I don't know how to explain it. Okay, I didn't know how broken my heart was until God gave me a new pure one. It's kind of like if you've eaten frozen food your whole life. You're like, oh, well, it's fine. I don't need anything different because this is what I'm used to, and I've never really had any better. But then one day you decide to go to, like, Olive Garden, and you're like, woo, I was missing out, you know? And so, like, that's kind of like maybe you've been in a box your whole life, and you've been so used to it, you've been living it in your whole life, and it's so dark that you might not realize that once you step out of that box, you'd be so refreshed, and you wouldn't even, like, you'd be like, whoa, wow, I was missing out. And so, last year, I went to a camp, and it was a Christian camp, and I learned how to think outside the box. How many of you have ever heard that saying? Think outside the box. Well, it's kind of an old saying, so, you know, I should know it. Well, I was thinking outside my box, and I knew that outside my box, it was really bright, and I was like, wow, how could anyone stand to live out there? I mean, they're so exposed, and, like, how could you have any fun? Like, yeah, I was thinking about what I knew was outside my box, because Satan told me, that's light, don't even look at it, it's shocking. And like, I was like, you know, how can you stand to live out there? I like it in my box, where it's dark, and where it's cold, and boring, and bam, I realized that my box was not doing me any good, and I needed to get out of there. And so, I needed to stop thinking outside my box, and I needed to start looking outside my box. And I was letting the devil put darkness in my life so that every time light shined in, I would look away. And see, the devil only comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And he wants to kill, steal, and destroy all of us. And the only way to really have life is through Jesus Christ. And so, don't listen to the devil when he tells you, well, God is just all about rules, and God is all about this and that, because God would not give us rules if he knew that there were consequences to them. God says, don't lust, because he knows that we'll get addicted and it'll affect your relationships. And I didn't care because I thought it was just a rule, but look what happened. I got addicted and the light went. So, yes, so I realized I need to get out of the box, and the only thing I could do was face that light. That was the only thing I could do. So I said, God, I'm coming back to you. I'm sorry for pushing you aside. I need you. Just take me out of this box. That's the first thing. Just take me out of this box. So God came over and burst open my box. And like the whole time when I was in here, I was not alone. I thought that no one was watching me, but there was a God sitting right here watching me, and I was breaking his heart with everything I did. But he watched me. He stood there. He could have just walked away because he was so hurt by what I did, because I'm his daughter. But no, he waited for me. And when I reached out my hand and said, God, take me, he was so happy. And he grabbed me and put me in his arms and said, I've missed you. I've missed you so much. Finally, we meet. You know, and like, it was beautiful. And I keep losing my spot. I felt a huge feeling of like relief, and I felt refreshed. And like, I just was like, God, I just want to see you. I just want to worship you. So, my box was open. And I was out of it, and it was bright. And I mean, I'm serious. Like, if you, like, in the morning, when you wake up, and okay, my mom comes in the room. I'm sorry, I got to click the microphone on my face. Anyways, okay. So, my mom comes in my room in the morning, and she'll be like, okay, time to wake up. And she'll turn on the light, and it is so stinking bright that, like, it hurts so bad. And I've been sleeping all night, so, like, I'm used to the darkness, and then bam, light, and I'm like, whoa! So I put, like, the pillow over my face. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm awake, okay, go, you know? But, see, if I've been in my box dead my whole life, of course the light's going to be kind of unusual, and stepping out of the darkness is kind of stepping out of your comfort zone. But the only way for me to get up and get ready for the day in the morning is to actually face that light, be like, okay, adjust, and then you can get ready for the day. Well, when I stepped out of my box, I needed to adjust to that light so I can start walking with God. So, when I came out of my box, I was still kind of standing in here because I wasn't really used to it. And God was like, I'm here. And I was like, yeah, I see you. Woohoo, you're bright. Yeah, you're big. I'm going to worship you because you're great. Yeah. But I wasn't really seeing him. I mean, like, I couldn't really look at him if I wasn't looking at him, you know? And so that's another point that you might be at. Point number 2 is that maybe you said, okay, God, I believe in you and I'm stepping out of my box. Or maybe you said a prayer when you were really little, like 7 years old, and asked Jesus in your heart and all that jazz. But you haven't really committed yourself to him. You haven't really given your whole entire life to him. And you didn't trust him enough to actually seek him, and maybe you've committed yourself to God, but you can't really connect with him. But I could not connect with him like this. I mean, you have to look at him and seek him and step out of your box. Okay, so that's another point. So I was out of my box, and I was really refreshed, and I was like, wow, that's great, yeah. And finally God told me, oh, excuse me, I was still in here. Finally God told me that I needed to put my guards down and trust him, because I'm not going to get anywhere. Like in the morning when you get up, like I said, you're not going to get anywhere if you're just sitting there with a pillow over your face. I mean, you're just going to fall back asleep. And I was just going to be like, well, this is boring, and just get back in and die again. So I wanted to kind of stay alive. So God said, just put your guard down and look at me and trust me. So I put all my guards down. I was like, you know what, God, I'm just going to walk with you. I'm just going to walk with you. And he was like, all right. And I was all ready to go. I was a new person. God changed me. And I was like, I'm ready to follow you. Let's start. Let's just go. My box.